Good evening. Welcome to the Selectmen's Meeting for May 28th, 2019. Roll call, please.
Don Klein, present.
Sulicio is present, and Wayne?
Wayne is on the phone.
Wayne is dialing in remotely, or we dialed him anyway. So I call the meeting to order. 1.2, Pledge of Allegiance, please. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we have 1.4, a few minutes for public comment. Please, Lori?
Thank you. Putting on the town committee, property committee's report, we held a meeting today and had a quorum. We did have a resignation, and so we're going to be posting for 3 positions, 1 from Conservation Commission and 2 from the general public. So if anyone's interested in serving on that committee, we meet once a month. And we also voted in the positions of organizing the committee for chair, vice chair, and clerk. And we also reviewed the referral for 152 North End Road for the Board of Selectmen. And we moved that the Town Properties Committee does not recommend that the town pursue the purchase of the parcel of land being subdivided off the rear of 152 North End Road. It was noted Kevin Smith is on our board. He recused himself, and so the vote was 3 in favor and 1 abstained. We also will be reviewing the town-owned properties at our next meeting and have asked for the assessor's maps to coordinate with the properties that we own so that we can view them and where they're located. And our next meeting is June 25th at 5 p.m. And I have them for you.
Thank you. Thanks. So we can't vote on that tonight, but the next meeting?
Correct.
Thank you, Lori.
You're welcome.
Lisa?
I'm just wondering why the agenda was not online.
It was.
Did it just go up today? Because it was not.
No.
It was on the calendar.
It was
It
on the...
wasn't under agendas.
Oh, it might not have been. Carolyn was out, so it might have just gone on to the calendar. It has to go into 2 places. But if you look at the calendar and you click on the calendar,
So we
it
should
comes
go
up
to
with the
calendar
posted
from now on
agenda.
instead of agendas, because,
No, it's typically in both places,
okay.
okay? But
The official
the posting place.
is the calendar.
Okay.
So when Kathy gets the agendas, Kathy posts it right to the calendar,
Right.
okay? Sorry for that confusion. Anybody else for public comment? Jerry?
Lori gave her update on her committee. I was wondering if perhaps Kim could give her update on the master plan.
I'd be happy to. I'd be happy to, Jerry.
Well, I think Lori was doing that because she knew we were waiting for that referral. We have something under master plan afterward. I'm not ready to listen to like a presentation, if that's what you meant.
No, but maybe if it were okay, Sue, it would be great for the master plan committee to just have a moment. We'd love to thank the Townsend residents that responded to the survey. We had a tremendous response, so everyone that
Oh, good.
responded online, thank you. It was very demographically consistent with those residents in our community too, and we had an excellent presentation from MRPC on the results, so it's great.
Great. Anybody else? Okay. 3.1, Town Council. Kate Federoff is here, and the Cable Access Committee is here, and we're going to talk about cable contract enforcement.
Great. So,
Excuse me, let me,
oh, sorry about that. Are you capturing me?
that's right.
Okay, thank you.
He got your good side.
I meant on the mic. In any event, I reached out, per our last meeting, I reached out to the cable company to inquire about the extension around the areas that are less densely populated, to figure out, number one, how we can extend it to service those residents. And I did get a specific response from the cable company. They have indicated that the cost for extending service to those areas, which include 30 homes, is estimated at $102,000, which the town could choose to pay, or if you divvied it up per home, it would be $3,400. Don't worry, there's better news than that. Specifically, then the cable company came back and said that they would assume $45,000 of that cost, so the net would be $57,000 for the town, and or $1,500 per home if you chose to divvy up that way. So there are a couple of options there, but in order to extend service, we'd have to notice them that we were exercising the option to extend the service and lock in that price of $57,000 total.
Yes.
Stan Dillis, chairman of the cable committee, that there was $130,000 set aside for that infrastructure improvements. So it wouldn't really cost the town a penny because the money is already there. So what we need to figure out is how to enter into, it's Unitil that needs to upgrade the infrastructure, and how do we enter into a contract with Unitil to do that? And then Comcast can string the wires. But until Unitil's involved and there's a contract with them, which I think we had a meeting a couple of years ago with Unitil here, and everybody was on board with it, and then...
But they pointed to Verizon.
Exactly.
Verizon pointed to Unitil,
Right.
and they all looked at the cable company.
So I think that's the stumbling block. We've been having that for 2 years now.
Right, but they had, so originally when the option to extend the service to those more remote areas was proposed, the town was obligated to send them notice of their exercising that option. So if the Board of Selectmen authorizes me to do so, I'll send that notice, and then we can sort out the whats, wheres, and whens of it all. But the first step is for either me or Jim to send off a letter saying, absolutely, we're going to take advantage of that price and have the build-out done.
I think that would solve a problem that we've been having. Well, the contract's 4 years old now.
Madam Chair?
Yes.
The 130 that Mr. Dillis mentions is segregated. It's available in cable access PEG receipts reserved. So the funding that was contemplated for this, it was done on a side letter by the board when the franchise agreement was last negotiated. It's in place. It's ready. So if the specific piece that Comcast does is going to be 57, the balance would be available for whatever it is we need to do with Unitil. So I think it would be appropriate to give the notice to exercise with Comcast by go to the board tonight, and then we can get on board with Unitil and say we've got this piece with them taken care of, so they can't point and say go talk to them first.
Okay, so you need a motion to authorize town council to go forward with the commitment to the 57, and also to start work with Unitil.
I make a, excuse me, I make a motion that we authorize Kate to send a letter to Comcast to extend the service. Anything else we need there, Jim?
$57,000
quote.
At the $57,000 quote.
And to engage Unitil for the next phase.
Okay, and to engage Unitil in the next phase.
You got that written down?
Oh, yes, locked.
Okay.
Me too. Steel trap.
On the camera.
And I'll second that. Did you hear that motion?
Yes.
Okay. Any other? I'm glad it's not just me. Any other questions?
No.
Yay! All
Forward
those in
motion.
favor?
Aye.
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 Hey, yay, thank you, Kate.
Thank you. It's good to leave a meeting smiling.
Thank you, appreciate it.
Could I add something else too about the public access channel? One of our committee members has volunteered to spearhead setting up the 401c3 corporation.
501c3.
501c, I'm sorry, 501c3, and I assume that if he needs funds for legal fees or anything, those would be available through that cable fund?
Well,
Or through some,
yeah, they would be available, we have to
I think you
figure
have to do the
that out.
corporation first.
Right.
Technically, it's a private group that would be
That's right.
working towards, so there
Right.
could be some anti-aid amendment stuff we're chasing.
Yeah, it could be, so, exactly, it could be anti-aid amendment stuff, although it is furthering the PEG access channel opportunity and availability, and that's the whole idea of PEG, to make this government and education
Right.
available to its residents. So there could be an argument, but the problem is it is a 501c3. Typically, it would be reserved for the town's legal fees as opposed to the 501c3's legal fees. But that said,
Yeah,
there are a lot of
I might be wrong, but
samples.
in the cable contract, 5% of the Comcast fees go to funding the public educational government access channel.
Right, right. Which we could maybe argue that 501c3, who will ultimately operate the PEG access channel, it would further that purpose. It's a little bit delicate, but we can probably figure something out. And plus, I don't expect the funds to actually create the 501c3 will be that extensive, to be honest, because
Right. Jerry
it's...
seemed to think he could do it without even legal counsel, but I don't know if that's prudent without having somebody review
Well,
it.
the thing is that I thought that it was the Board of Selectmen that was supposed to establish it or
You make the first
authorize
You make
it.
the first appointments.
Right.
Once it's created,
And
and they're
once
off
it's
on their own.
created,
right.
then you're on your own.
think-
But I think the reason we're only talking about this part now is because we wanted to get this part settled. So,
I just wanted to give you an update that
I
we do have
appreciate it.
someone that's volunteered to spearhead setting that
it's
up.
good to know. So as soon as this one, the nails are in the coffin and we're all set,
That's
then
right.
we'll go with it.
Madam Chair, just briefly on that point, there is some language in the franchise agreement that I think we could pretty solidly stand on, where it was contemplated by the parties that the funds would be used
To
from
establish.
the franchise receipts to establish the 501c3, and then ultimately all that money transfers out to them.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I'd like to save that rest of that discussion for the next time,
Sure,
okay?
all right.
Maybe we'll have made some progress by the next time too. with-
Hopefully
with the
you'll all have
corporation.
Wi-Fi at that point.
By the next selectmen's meeting, I wouldn't count on that.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
Kate.
you so much.
Hey,
3.2, discussion regarding a dog park.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how
Am I going to be okay on the mic, or do you need me to move that closer? Okay, awesome, thanks. So, hi everybody, I'm Josh Arrow, 5 Todd Drive in Townsend. So, I'm going to give you a little bit of a background, kind of where we're coming from, and then talk a little bit about what we're hoping to accomplish. So, about a year ago on Earth Day, there was a table set up. Sue set up a table and was asking for volunteers for an interest group to get a dog park in Townsend. So we got a bunch of people signed up on this interest group, and we've been meeting for about a year now, pretty regularly, about bi-weekly, doing research, talking to other dog parks. So we've talked to representatives from Fitchburg, Chelmsford, Ayr. We have some information that we've gotten from the Nashoba Dog Park. So we've done a lot of research kind of on other dog parks, and we're looking to figure out what our options are as far as funding and feasibility in the town and what properties are available. And this is all the stuff we've been working on for the last year. So right now, as far as interest, we've got about 10 to 12 of us that meet fairly regularly, and I think we have like 9 of us here tonight. And we've got a Facebook group with over 300 people. We've got a volunteer list with about 50 people on it. And we're hoping to start a more official committee, a town committee, to be in a more official capacity to continue our research and look into more funding options. So our intention is to be as self-funded as possible. There's actually a grant that's available for $250,000 called the Stanton Foundation, and that would pay essentially for the majority of the dog park to be installed. There is a commitment on the town's part for a percentage of that. Our intention would be to fundraise to raise the money for that part of it that the town would need to put toward it. So what we're looking to do is get the board's approval to move forward with creating a more official town committee to work toward the research and funding options for a dog park in Townsend.
Do you have questions?
Nope, I've seen some of the dog parks in the neighboring towns, so they work out fairly well for the dog owners.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we spent a lot of time kind of researching benefits, things like that, benefits to the community and people and the dogs. And, you know, we have a lot of outdoor recreation space in Townsend. We have a lot of town forest and state forest. A lot of that isn't great for people to take their dogs, and we've got over 1,000 registered dogs in Townsend. So we're looking for a more formal place for owners to be able to take their dogs to socialize with each other, but also for the owners to be able to socialize too.
Other than on TV, I've never seen what a dog park looks like.
Sure.
No, just
And I can show you, I have a...
I'm kind of picturing like a big playground with fence around it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, that's basically what it is. I printed out a couple of things here too, if you want to take a look. On the back side of it, there are some pictures of what a dog park looks like.
Benches for people, too.
Yep. Yeah, so there's one in Air. They just, Air actually used that Stanton Foundation grant to get theirs installed. And Fitchburg used that Stanton Foundation grant as well. And Air's just opened up the end of last summer, and that's where those pictures are from there. So there's a little information on there, just kind of some of the benefits that we've researched, funding options. We'd also like to, as a committee, plan community events such as, dog behavior awareness events, maybe put up, microchipping clinics, vaccine clinics, things like that. Those are some of the other things that we would hope that the committee would be able to work toward for the community.
So I do have a few questions.
Sure, absolutely.
First, I don't have a dog, but
That's okay.
I have questions.
Yeah.
I don't have a cat either. I don't want one anymore. I love them dearly, but I can't do
At your
that.
friend's house.
Yes. I did look up a few dog park organizations, if you will, and
Yep.
I saw Fitchburg.
Yep.
I didn't see the others. There was someplace else too that I had looked at, and it looked like a couple had used Stanton, so I looked into that.
Yeah.
And Stanton, if I'm remembering correctly, one of the criteria, or a couple criteria they have in order to be eligible for their grant is, number one, it must be on town property.
Yep, that is
And
correct.
the other one was that they work solely through the town manager or administrator or mayor.
Yes,
Okay,
yep.
that's their main contact.
Yep, they must
So
have
they
a
don't-
town employee as the representative
Well,
that they
that's
work with.
more than employee, that's,
Yeah.
that's, pretty much the head of the town. And it sounds like they don't want to have to go through a lot of discussions with other folks, okay?
Yeah.
And I don't want to be a naysayer, and I don't have any problem with a group looking into the feasibility of something. I am concerned about where, in terms of town property. And you heard Lori just a while ago, the Town Properties Committee just kind of got up and started again
yep.
and hadn't been operational for a while. So this definitely looks like something that we, if we go forward with this, that would want to pass on to town properties to say, what areas might be available for something like that. The things that, let me back up. If we were to do an official group,
Yep,
I would want to look at it, at least initially, as an investigative group.
Okay.
A feasibility group, because there is a possibility that you go down the road and when you get the answers to a lot of the questions, it might not be feasible. Okay, there's a whole slew of reasons why.
oh, absolutely.
There's a field across from my house. What is the impact to neighbors? What kind of an area are you looking at? And do we have an area like that available?
Yep.
I don't think we have any zoning or any regulations around dog parks, and those would need to be created. I know we have a leash law of sorts. Lance, help me out. What's the?
I think it's more of a control law as opposed to a leash law.
Yeah, you have to have the dog in your control at all times.
Yeah,
Any pets?
Yeah, good luck on that.
yes.
The cat runs in front of it, I don't know. But the other thing is, we have a stipend employee that's the dog officer in town.
Yep,
That whole piece of it would have to get looked at too.
yep,
Who does the policing? Who's responsible for the enforcement?
yep.
All of those kinds of things need to be figured out, because my concern is, okay, the idea sounds great, but unless you work out all of the details, the devil is in the details, and we need to know those answers first. To be honest with you, I am not willing, at least at this point in time, I would not support any public funds to go toward it. Okay, so you'd be on your own for the balance of after the grant, if it came to that. But I'm thinking of other possible resources that would be required. For example, there's a problem at the dog park. Somebody got bitten. Who responds? How do we make sure that they're responding? Who's liable? What is the liability? So there's all kinds of things that are going to have to get worked out. So this is
Absolutely.
just beginning phase. Let's look at it.
Yep, absolutely,
All right.
and that's what we foresee the committee's purpose being, is going through all of those details in a more official capacity than we are right now, because we've looked at a lot of those things and asked these questions of other surrounding towns that have done something similar, and we've got the research and the answers from them, but every town's a little different. So that's what we see the purpose of the committee being, to finalize and figure out those details. We have spoken with Mary Letourneau about it and brought up the idea with her and just got her feedback and thoughts on concerns she would have, or benefits, drawbacks, things like that. So we've had that conversation already too.
Okay.
Yep.
And you probably need to partner with her and
Oh, absolutely.
with
Yeah.
police, ambulance, because they're all potentially gonna,
Yeah, absolutely.
you
Yeah.
have to be prepared for something.
Yeah.
I would be concerned about the noise factor,
Yep.
and that
absolutely.
again gets into where it is.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are just, I just don't want us to go in with rose-colored glasses and say, oh, isn't this great, and not be prepared. There's going to be a lot of work in front of the group.
Oh,
Okay,
absolutely, yeah.
So this is not unlike another group that's called the Rail Trail Group, okay, that we're still waiting for all of that to come to fruition. I know. I will tell you, though, that the town said to the Rail Trail Group a few years ago, bless you, we love the idea, but it's yours, okay? If you go through Stanton, it forces the town to be involved.
Yeah.
I'm not ready to make that commitment today, okay? I'd want to hear the feasibility
Okay.
work first, okay, the results of that. You with me, or?
Yeah, I totally agree. While I support the idea of a dog park, I have to agree with Sue that we need to make sure that we cover all of our bases going forward, to make sure that it's done appropriately, and that everything's covered. And I think there seems to be, a support from your group already But that's, on the outset, you got to make sure that that support continues on into the future too, if you do go forward, so.
Yep, absolutely. And I wrote down earlier, I noted that the Town Properties Committee is definitely a group to connect with. And I'm also interested to learn more about the results from the master plan survey that we put out there, because there was a question on there about whether or not a dog park was something people would be interested in town. So those would all be factors we'd have to take into account too. So can I ask you, Ms. Lozio, what in your eyes would be the difference between an official committee or a feasibility committee? So what's the difference?
If we're appointing you,
Yeah.
it's an official committee.
Okay.
Okay, it's just first directive, if you will, or goal would be, your charge is to do basically a feasibility study on
Gotcha.
this.
Okay. Yep, that makes- that clarifies. Thank you.
And work with the other agencies in town to put together a presentation and that addresses all of the pros and cons and solutions.
Yep.
Okay?
Absolutely. Okay, that helps
Does that make
clarify.
sense?
It does, thank you, yes.
Does that make sense, Jim?
Perfectly, yeah.
Wayne, anything you want to add? Questions?
No, I too is supportive in doing it, but I agree with both you and Don, what you said.
Okay. Do we have a number that in mind for a group?
Both sides. Well, you don't want to disenfranchise people that have been working for a year already, but you also don't want to have, how many did you say?
We have about 10, 12, but we were thinking we would suggest, if it's appropriate, that a committee of 5 would be appropriate for us.
Okay.
And we've already identified some people that would fill out the volunteer forms.
And you realize that you're delving into the world of public.
Yes, yes.
And what that means is if you're an appointed committee of the town, then that means you're subject to open meeting law and all of the fun stuff that goes with that.
Absolutely,
okay?
yes.
Agendas posted, meeting minutes, all of those kinds of things.
Absolutely,
okay?
yeah. And we've been trying to, for the last year.
And that means you can't pick up the phone and talk to 3 people.
Yes,
Okay.
we have for the last year been trying to adhere to those similar rules as much as we can in preparation for having to
Excellent.
legally
Wonderful.
follow those rules.
And Kathy could help you downstairs too, and
Yep.
actually, we're gonna be having a training pretty soon too, for
Oh.
open meeting law
Okay.
training,
Yeah.
Can I
okay?
ask a question? Would you recommend 5 people?
I think 5 sounds like a good number. You know, a quorum to pass a vote would be 3, you know, and 5 is not unreasonable to assume that those 5 could get together. You get much beyond that, and it gets to be difficult to schedule.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion.
Yeah, and we talked about that too. We said 7 sounds like too much to.
The other thing we've talked about is a 501c3, and we're unsure about the timing of when we should get a 501c3 rolling, a Friends of the Dog Park, primarily for the purpose of raising funds, so that the town won't have to, we can give funds to the town.
Yeah, it's just me, but I would hold off on doing that until you're through the feasibility stage. Because then you'd have to just give all the money back if things
If it
didn't go.
didn't work out, yeah.
Thank you, I'm glad I asked.
Yeah,
Yeah, you just don't want to put the cart before the horse there.
absolutely.
And only from a little bit of experience lately, if while you're setting this up, because it's new, if you could allow them to have alternates, 2 alternates to their committee, because then if you find that you're not getting a quorum, you can have your alternates come in. And we're finding that would be very helpful in other committees. So why not just set it up that way rather than,
So 5 and 2 alternates.
Yep.
If we establish the committee.
Yep.
It needs to be posted. You'd fill out the volunteer forms, and then
Next meeting.
come back. We could vote on those people to be appointed.
Okay,
Okay?
yep, that makes sense.
All right? So,
Madam Chair, if I may, so if you want to just put a brief, couple, 3 sentences blurb of what the committee's function would be.
Sure.
Along the lines of what Sue, Wayne, and Donna just said, the
Yep.
feasibility study to determine whether it's feasible to have a dog park in town.
Yep.
Email that to me. I'll create the posting from that. That way there, I'm sure to capture what you want it to be.
Yeah, okay.
We can get the posting up online tomorrow, and the board's next meeting is 6:30.
I can't look, Wayne's.
You can.
Hold on.
You can.
No.
Yeah.
It might need
You
to
don't
be the
want me
meeting
to. I'll lose Wayne if
after.
I touch.
Even the meeting after that, say the mid-June meeting.
It's usually the first and third.
The first and the
What-
first.
The third is what? Because it's got to be
The third is the
posted.
18th.
So probably the 18th, so that'd be,
It's got to be posted for so many days anyway, so.
Yeah, 10 days, right?
so
Okay.
we do target the 18th, we can get it up there tomorrow.
Okay.
And then
We'll be ready
whichever
for appointments on the
whichever of your
18th.
selected 7 have an interest, obviously somebody could come in out of left field and put one in that looks like a great candidate, so
Yep.
it's the board's ultimate choice.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely, understood. I will do that.
Sound good?
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Not done yet.
Okay.
And one suggestion on the volunteer response forms, if you participated already for the last year plus, just note that somewhere on the form, obviously, because that'll be one way of distinguishing who's from left field and.
Yes, okay, yep, makes sense.
So I could use a motion to establish a feasibility study for a dog park?
Okay, I make a motion that
Committee?
The board establish a committee for a feasibility study of a dog park.
Okay. Consisting of
Consisting of 5 and 2.
five,
And then 2 alternates.
I'll second that. Wayne, you have any questions?
Nope.
Okay. You all set? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, you're established.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. You might lose half your room
You
now.
don't want to stay?
Thank you guys so much. Have a good night.
Thank you very much. Yes, it was. I said it was going to empty out. I thought most of them were for the cable. Well, maybe they said it too. Yeah, maybe.
We didn't officially give that to properties. We need to do that as well, but I guess we could do that next time too. The idea that that needs to, if that's to come to
I
fruition.
think the committee will. Once they're formed, they would then,
That would-
he
yeah,
said he's
because
gonna reach out to properties, so I think
Okay,
they'll be official.
yeah, okay.
I'll give you a call. Is there a time that's better?
All set?
Is there a good time?
5.1, discussion regarding organic fertilizer for town properties. Jim?
Madam Chair, you have quite a bit in your packet on this issue. You have a series of emails back and forth between Mark Mercurio, the facilities coordinator, and a couple of residents that are interested in going back to what was a program that I understand was implemented for town properties back in, was it 06, 07?
About 10 years ago.
Okay, so maybe not quite as far back as 06, 07. What you'll see in the information is that Mark had indicated in an email of April 2nd that he thought it was worth pursuing, just so long as everybody had the understanding that you won't see necessarily the results that you see today, because what's being done today is not organic. There's chemical fertilizer being done, and you'll note on the most recent email of May 13th, the vendor, the current vendor from JB Turf says that, to read it directly, if you switch to organic only, you will have no control over any of the things that we saw in the past, and properties will start to degrade ultimately and end up in the condition they were when you first called us. So it's a balance, obviously, between the environmental interest in being organic and the aesthetic interest in having the properties look a certain way. And I'm not suggesting it's an easy balance to strike, but those fairly stated, you think, of the two poles of the thing?
You can note that the common does not use chemicals. And I think the common looks fine, so you may want to note that. Of course, they want to keep you, as one of their clients, but you can have organic that looks decent. I think our common looks decent.
I mean, my experience is that if you give, organic can work real well even on a lawn, but you have to use some other kinds of tricks with it. You can't cut your lawn as short because that doesn't help inhibit the weeds from growing. As you know, if the grass is longer, it shades the weeds have a harder time catching on. But it's certainly not going to prevent dandelions. It's, so the front here, the senior center area.
Dandelions bring bees.
Dandelions feed us. Yes, that's right. They feed the bees, and the bees do all kinds of wonderful things for us, for our other stuff. So I don't have, I mean, I use minimal fertilizer. I do not use insecticide. I don't use, I won't kill the bugs because I feed the birds, and the birds eat the bugs, so. But I guess, I'm 6 of this and half a dozen of the other. I think dandelions are pretty, to tell you the truth, in the springtime, so I go around with vinegar. Did you know that vinegar will kill dandelions?
What?
Vinegar.
That could kill your lawn too.
Spray bottle.
That's right, it does.
So
But
if you
it
want brown,
only
that's
lasts,
great.
well, no, it only lasts for a little while. If you spot treat it and you're careful, it'll kill the dandelion and maybe a little bit of the grass, but the grass grows back, so. I know because I've used it. Dawn, where are you at with this?
Well, I don't know that much about organic fertilizer because I use the pesticides and stuff on my lawn, so. But I do, I think going organic is where everybody seems to be heading to now. But I do have one question. I was reading through this packet of material, and it seems that we went organic once before, and what was the reason why we stopped?
As I recall, just a few years ago, when maybe it was the current vendor, people were complaining because it didn't look as pretty as they thought it should.
Pretty much.
So we're kind of going full cycle again.
Can I answer that? Sure. When Karen Chapman was here, she applied not through a town employee job, but as, I believe, a conservation rep. The 2 years in a row, the town was granted a grant from the UMass Lowell. And after that grant did not get received, I guess, for the third time, that's when they went back to, because it costs more. Even organic, they don't use chemicals. Organic fertilizer is more expensive. So that was the reason why nobody pursued another grant, and I believe the town did not believe that they should spend any more money going with organic. It wasn't just that they didn't think that the grass didn't look good. I think there were other factors. I just was handed a note too, if I can add one more thing. On the master plan, it's not out yet, to the public about the responses, but 71% of all the respondents in town were in favor of limited use of chemicals on town properties. And the other thing, this again may have to do with conservation, I think all town properties that currently has chemicals on it are in aquifer zones, so that's probably not a good thing to continue on town grass to That would just be my thought. I'm not certain what conservation has to say or the state has to say about it, but. All right, thank you for letting me speak.
You're welcome. Thank you for speaking. Wayne? Hello?
I'm sorry, Sophia. I really don't have anything more to add. I don't really have a strong feeling one way or the other.
My only concern is, you can't have it both ways. That's what it comes down to. It's like, if you go organic, you're gonna see dandelions in the spring. You're gonna have some weeds. You're not gonna have the lush, artificial-looking lawn that a lot of folks have that can, that don't use organic. So I guess it depends on what we like. I mean, right now, we'd be responding to people who care more about the environment than the look, but just a few years ago, that wasn't the case. Kind of puts us in the middle when you think about it. You can't please all the people all the time. I mean, I am concerned about, I'd almost like to hear how conservation weighs in on something like this.
I think the water department as well.
Yes, most definitely.
I think to Karen's point about there being
The
some of the town
aquifers.
properties that are within aquifer protection zones. I mean, nearly the whole town is.
Yeah, we are an aquifer when you think about it.
Karen, if we're looking to do this, are we looking to do it this year, or is this something we're
When's
trying
this
to?
contract due?
They're actually, he does offer a hybrid program, which doesn't do, I mean, you either are using chemicals or you're not.
Mhm.
So you don't want to really get into the hybrid that he's offering, but he's open for contract right now, so we could make the change.
Can I speak one more time? Cemetery and Parks contracts, they actually buy organic fertilizer. I called that place, and there is, and of course you have to go out for bid, there is a place that works out of Lunenburg that deals with organic fertilizer, and I assume that they would bid because they're the next town over. So that's.
And there are quite a number of them,
They're around.
lawn companies that offer both. They'll offer either.
Well,
I should
it
say.
is. I think it's becoming more popular because people are caring more about the environment. And
That too is
honestly,
cyclical,
if I see a
unfortunately.
dandelion on the front of the town hall, I'll say, that's great, they've finally gone organic. And again, 71% of the people surveyed said that that's what they would like. And that's a pretty high.
Who cared enough to answer the survey.
Exactly.
So that means they care.
I mean, I don't care, I'll go with organic, but at the same time, right now, we just have a half a dozen people here. Next year, there might be 3 dozen who say it looks terrible. We just gonna keep bouncing back and forth, or are we looking for a policy of some sort? And that, I would want to involve water and conservation in. I mean, that's a town commitment, which is a little bit different than which contract are we seeking. So let's go with the contract thing, because we're in between, right? Doesn't matter either way. Try organic, maybe it'll work real well and it'll be a good advertisement for it. Would you have to go out to bid for it?
Yeah, the scope will be just a request for quotes. I mean, we're not talking
Yeah.
extraordinary amount,
Yeah.
but yeah, we would. It's pretty quick though.
Yeah,
And you
okay.
just solicit 3. You don't even have to receive 3. You just have to solicit 3.
Okay. So, could I have a motion?
I make a motion that we go out to bid for organic fertilizer.
Fertilizers for town properties.
For town property. Anything else you need on that, Jim?
That's correct.
I'll second that. Any other discussion, Wayne?
Nope.
All those in favor? All
Aye.
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 Unanimous.
Gotcha.
Okay, we'll give it a try. Products are a lot better this go-around than they used to be, so. 5.2, policy regarding contract negotiations. Did we get this written?
I did not.
All right.
I wasn't quite certain what this one was.
I sent you an email about it, but that's okay. We can do that
Is
next
that the one
time.
that I couldn't find and then you found?
And
you
then I
said,
find
"Ah,
and
I
send,
found it."
yes.
Yeah, I never got that.
Okay. Jim, would you put that on the next one,
Gotcha.
please?
In the tickler.
Thank you. 5.3, review, approve, sign the special town election warrant for June 18th, 2019. Kathy wanted to say something. Is Kathy still down there, do you think?
I can call and find out.
Yeah, she, I mean, we can say it for her, but she wanted to say that the last date to register to vote for this
It's tomorrow.
is tomorrow. Is that what she said?
That's what she said.
Okay, so just so folks know, this is the special ballot election to vote,
Pavement management.
to pay for the pavement management plan. We voted on it at town meeting, but it needs to be affirmed at the ballot. So it's a special election. And it will,
That's not a town meeting, that's a
it's an election vote.
election ballot.
Yeah. Wayne, you can sign it when you get back. Well, maybe not, because you need to post it, right?
Yes.
So it'll be 18th of June, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. And that's to vote to fund the pavement management plan. 5.4, Master Plan Committee, Board Approval for Consultant Contract. Do we have backup on this?
It is in your packet, yep. 5.4.
Yeah, back up.
I know, I thought,
Keep going.
oh, gotcha.
Right there.
Oh, that's right, I did look at that. I do have questions. This is approval to sign the consultant contract. The question I have is that it says scope of services for economic development strategy. There was $22,000 voted, and this would use 21.6 of it. But my understanding of the master plan is that it's multifaceted, that it's not just about economic development, it's about housing, it's about, what, 4 or 5 different things that we look at, right?
Sure. Would you like me to speak on the chapters? In the process, so we went to town meeting, we initially were gonna ask for.
You need to come up so the mic.
Oh, sure.
I'm just curious as to
Sure,
why,
not a problem.
why we're spending the whole, or recommending spending the whole
question.
ball of wax on
I'll
just
tell
one
you why.
piece.
So we went to town meeting, we initially were gonna ask for $30,000, but there was funding that we had access to, $8,000. So that paid for listening sessions. We did a great deal of community outreach. We had a listening session just for the seniors. We had one just for the students. We had community ones and we had a business one. So that was paid for with part of that $8,000. The other part of the $8,000 went to review the survey that went out, that 326 community members in a demographically representative way of our community responded to, so that was out of that funding. And then our housing chapter, we collaborated with Townsend Housing, and as you might remember, Beth submitted the DLTA grant, which we received. So that pays for the housing chapter.
The other chapters have been completed by committee members. We have one committee that is still going to submit, I'm guessing, their chapters, but everything else
And
was
what
done.
are those?
Open space, recreation, and water.
Okay.
So everything else, transportation has been drafted, the recreation one has been drafted, the government one has been drafted. So this was the biggest investment, certainly, but we were able to get the other pieces that we had intended on outsourcing through other resources to really maximize this. It was a open process, 3 bids were received, documentation went to Lori, and the committee unanimously selected the vendor because of their wealth of experience.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
That article, if I'm correct, was a planning board article.
No, it was not.
No, I looked on our expense report. It's a planning board article that was voted on at town meeting. And the reason that I looked was because I remembered, how many times have I said the expense reports and how much have we expended? And that was one of the items that hadn't had anything taken from it. And I don't remember, in all the times that I looked through, that ever seeing a master plan account. And it was for the master plan, but it was submitted by the planning board. And that's how Lori has that account description.
I haven't looked back at the warrant to see who the
I did.
submitted by was. Lori would set it up through the parent organization, which would be the planning board in this case.
No, I looked at the warrant too.
For Article 12.
Yes. The warrant said planning board submitted.
No, I understand. What I'm saying is even if it had said master plan, she still would have set it up in the system under the parent board. Otherwise,
Okay.
otherwise you have.
But the reason I'm asking is because I guess my question is, why are you coming to us first? Shouldn't you be going to the planning board first to ask for their authorization to spend the funds out of their
Well, in the
article?
other ones that we did, the other master plan money that was spent, the contracts didn't go to the planning board first. They saw it, and they were signed, executed on, and Lance McNally and I had a conversation that we were done our process, and he just asked me to reference one of the towns, call a person that he knew. Lori didn't ask that question. No one's asked me.
The reason I looked was because I don't remember ever seeing, because we were talking about budget so much, I almost knew it by heart, unfortunately.
Did you ask that question of Laurie? Because she
handles
that.
See, I don't go directly to Lori, I would go through Jim.
Did you ask
And when
Jim?
I am now. I mean, that's why I'm asking now. I'm confused about we're the first step. Planning board, I thought would be first.
Did it exactly
I just
the
don't
way
want to step on another elected board's.
It was done in the exact same way as the other procurements were done.
And where did those monies come from, though? Were those grants?
No, it was from the town.
One was a town appropriation and one was a grant, the DLTA.
Yeah, see, grant, we would have anyway.
But there was the original $8,000 was a town appropriation. Yeah, I can tell you, Madam Chair, that when I got this procurement package put in front of me as the procurement officer, I didn't think for a moment that it would have gone through the planning board first, because the master plan committee has been charged by the planning board to go forth and do this work.
Yeah, I'm just being technical because I know how much of a stickler Lori is, the way that that's written.
Lori didn't ask that question. She had some other questions.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm happy to share the correspondence.
Can we just, I mean, I don't want to put you off, but on the other hand, I want to make sure that we're doing this right. Because it was a planning board article. I just want to make sure that the planning board doesn't first have to okay that expenditure. Because they're another elected board, we can't.
When I spoke with Lance about it, all he asked me to do was to call over to Groton for a reference. So, the planning board didn't ask us to do anything. We have a member of the planning board that sits on the committee.
Can we just get something from Lori first? I'd rather just wait until the next meeting and make sure. I'm not going to just sign something and then have it pop back and say planning board needs to be part of it.
So I do want clarification. So the Article 12 says to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate, borrow or transfer from available funds in the treasury, the sum of $30,000, which was our initial ask, as I described, but we dropped it to 22, for the purpose of funding the hiring of consultants to assist the master plan committee appointed under the planning board with such areas as economic development, community meeting facilitation, research, survey analysis, and other topics voted on by the master plan committee, submitted by the master plan committee. This article is to fund professional consultants to assist the master plan committee in the task of updating the town master plan.
It was submitted by the planning board, is my point.
Sure, but it is pretty specific.
I understand. I totally understand, but they're the ones that appointed you. I don't want to be in the middle of it, is my point.
Right, so it's interesting that this has changed since the first one. There was no questions asked at that time. Right, so we followed the same exact procedure. It's under exactly what was said we were going to spend the funding for.
If there was something that was raised and appropriated for that $6,000, where was it? Because I didn't look at that article.
$8,000, it was a special article, not unlike this one, and I think it was the year before. I could go pull a warrant if you wanted to take a brief recess.
And the other one was a grant, so that doesn't come under anybody anyway. It comes under us to accept a grant. It doesn't matter whose it is.
But again, we didn't go through the planning board to give you that information for the grant, and no question was asked then of us coming directly to you with the grant.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable doing it. I guess I'd defer to my colleagues, and I'm not comfortable with it. I'd want to hear that it's appropriate to do it this way first.
So we can certainly go back and ask Lori, but Lori asked questions about how the procurement was done, how the selection was made, and all of that. So there's been correspondence with her.
Oh no, the question isn't on the procurement part of it. It's on what do you need for authorization.
So again, it's exactly the same way that we've done it. So if you'd like to change the rules, we can do that. We can go back and ask Lori.
Kim, I'm not changing the rules. I'm saying this is another elected board, and I'm not going to step on another elected board's toes. I'm not going to do it.
And as I said, we had a discussion
Okay,
with the chair, and he didn't say to do anything different.
I would ask that the board vote to pass over this until the next meeting.
Since I'm not sure about this one, I'm going to have to agree and pass over until I'm sure that Lori does not have a problem without having a vote from planning board.
Or hearing from town council or something. Jerry?
Sitting on the planning board, it's always been kind of my understanding, and perhaps Lance can clear this up, that you more or less have said that the planning board, the master plan made their own decisions. Is that correct?
That is correct, but we have in the past used the process where, for example, on June 29th of 2018, the Master Plan Committee came for us requesting to have reimbursement for the Survey Monkey. We as a board vote as a full board on that approval. And then typically in the past, when there has been something that we've appropriated, I've had to sign to approve it.
And see, that's exactly what I was thinking.
And we would vote as a board. I do not have the authorization. The board has the authorization.
You didn't say that when we spoke on April 19th. and you didn't do that with the MRPC last
And like I
June
said,
28th.
a grant is a different story, though. A grant
That's not
comes
a grant.
directly to us.
That's not the grant.
The MRPC?
DLTA is the grant from MRPC that came to you.
Right.
With the input from the master plan. What I'm talking about, Sue, is the one from last year.
I don't remember that one at all. I don't remember it. Anyway, did you make a motion?
No.
Could I get a motion so we could get moving?
I make a motion, we move this to our next meeting in anticipation of getting clarification from Warren.
Okay, and town council if necessary, or DLS, or whoever she calls. Wayne,
Yeah, I'm good. Second.
can he second it?
Sure.
Okay. Been moved and seconded? All those in favor? Aye. So if you could find out, please, and we'll get back to
So
it.
so specifically, does Lori have an issue with the authorization as it is from the
Or
planning?
DLS or whoever, okay?
Yeah, Lori would be our,
I just want to make sure if it's something that they need to sign first, that it gets signed first. That's all, okay? Where are we?
Jim,
5-5,
forwarded the other two that are not
Bassam.
signed by the master, for the planning board for your records for Lori.
Thank you. Bassam, is he here?
he is not, but I do have his written report for you.
Oh, okay.
And Wayne, I'll email this to you so you have it for your packet, but I'll go over it. It's entitled Update Report on IT, Telephone, and PEG Projects. The overview, 3 projects will take place over the next several months. The projects will upgrade IT network, the town phone system, and the recording system, or PEG Comcast. And they are Acuity Technologies on the upgrade of the IT network. TPX will upgrade the town phone system, and Access AV, the recording system. So the first section, the IT network upgrade, beginning early June 2019. The IT network upgrade will cover Town Hall, Highway Department, Water Department, and Cemetery Department. Acuity Technologies will be contracted to start the town network infrastructure upgrades. Acuity will be installing and replacing new switches, APC smart UPSs with management cards, Extreme Networks PoE switches. Now, I feel like I'm speaking a foreign language.
Power over Ethernet. PoE.
Oh, wow.
Ubiquity cloud controllers and wireless access points and system-wide firewalls. This will occur in early June 2019. We have to get revised quotes based on a recent U.S. tariff.
Oh,
So those are
God.
coming.
Oh,
And the projected deployment would be week 1 and 2, deploy the new switches and firewalls. There will be downtime expected. Deploy new wireless access points and replace the servers. Week 3 through 4 would be Office 365 migration and work performed by Winslow Technologies as a sub. Deploy new servers to run in parallel with existing servers. Switch to Office 365 and integrate Outlook PSTs into the cloud. Outlook mail access will be interrupted likely for the weekend, and test and troubleshoot for potential problems.
who's going to do the training, if any?
That will be coming in through Acuity.
Thank you.
And then phone system upgrade, mid-July 2019. We are in the scheduling loop. The phone system upgrade will cover the town phone system, including Town Hall, Highway Department, Water Department, Cemetery, and Parks. This will occur mid-July of 2019. Contract with TPX to upgrade the phone system and installing voice over internet protocol system. PEG access upgrade, the installation of the recording system will happen in 2 phases and will also cover the replacement of Channel 9 recording equipment in the Selectmen's chambers. Phase 1 will cover the camera system, and Phase 2 will cover the audio system. The installation of the recording system, Channel 9 on Comcast, will be Phase 1, June 27th, 28th of 2019. Install fixed PTZ cameras in the Selectmen's room. You can see the wires are already exposed from the walls. There'll be fixed cameras mounted, one that'll show the audience, two that'll come up to the board table. and mount a ceiling projector in the selectmen's chambers, so we won't be wrestling as we do currently with putting a little table in somebody's notebook under it or a book or two to try to get it to hit. And upgrade the recording equipment used by Channel 9. Phase 2 would be after the first phase, obviously, in July 2019. Substitute the playback system with a more user-friendly system that would be Windows-based. So instead of having to try to program the playback of different events or recordings of ours in a more technical way than people are used to, it'll be Windows-based, so we'll actually be able to do it more readily and easily, and in fact be able to delegate some of that to boards and commissions. And then install a 12-channel wireless microphone system with repeaters to be used during town meetings, selectmen's meetings. The system will utilize the overflow rooms. And install a flat panel television in meeting room number 2 to be used in overflow meetings, and that'll also be capable of being used as a screen for presentation purposes in meeting room 2.
And will there be recording ability in the other rooms as well?
I don't believe so, unless we're able to still utilize any of the standalone portable equipment.
No, I was just thinking, never mind, that's okay.
No, I get you. You know, if we do have a town meeting and people speaking in the other room, are they...
Well, not just that, but, let's say it's planning board or master plan or whoever is using room 12 or Board of Health, and they want to publicize that. They want it taped, their meetings taped.
This doesn't contemplate putting fixed cameras down there.
Okay.
And getting Channel 8 back live, we have some fiber equipment needs, and Boston is still working with the vendor on that issue.
When it comes to the public access piece of that, that's related to the discussion we had earlier, the whole...
extension of the system and PEG.
The PEG
nonprofit.
access and the nonprofit and all. The nonprofit's going to be their own entity, and
Correct.
they'll make their own decisions about what technology they use and how
Correct.
they use it. So in a way, they're going to inherit what we've put in.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll inherit the infrastructure, although it gets a little funky because it's town equipment to begin with. So there's some gymnastics you go through legally to transfer care, custody, and control of that infrastructure to the nonprofit. But from that point forward, you're right. The check that we get quarterly for the 5% of cable subscriber payments no longer becomes a town receipt in the town's books, but will become a receipt that goes right into the Cable Access Corporation.
And they would be the ones,
Any future work like that? Absolutely.
all of that is theirs, not just from the hardware perspective, but
Programming,
everything.
everything.
How they do everything. Okay.
It becomes its own thing, which it should be.
It should be. I mean, that was the whole point of Comcast trying to get out of that. It should belong wholly to someone else, but.
I mean, ultimately, there's still going to be a home being sought by the nonprofit. We can piecemeal things together as we have. It used to be that there was the mission control rack in there until about 2 years ago in the selectman's office proper, where they were literally, ceiling to floor towers of equipment. Now we're down to this rack that you see here, and this all disappears and becomes a far more condensed facility that will be operated out of a portion room in the Great Hall. So we're moving away from that, but ultimately, communities that have cable access corporations have space in a municipal building somewhere, or property somewhere, that they lease the space for that public purpose.
So they'll look for that.
They'll be working with the properties committee to...
Well,
Get
working with the
situated.
properties committee, or maybe even they'll choose to rent a small office space somewhere too.
Sure.
That's a possibility as well, so. Okay, but that's their problem. Thank you for that.
To your point, Madam Chair, you do appoint initially.
Yes, I know.
Once that first round of appointments is done, then
It's over.
Their process is defined in their incorporating
Yeah.
documents. They make those follow-up appointments.
And we get back to the business here.
Yep.
5-6 Water Department engineering change orders, West Meadow Road and Main Street projects. It's really not change order.
Right.
It's really working
The
through,
engineering contracts, right.
working through the details. Have we gotten any
I'm
updates?
checking now if we've received any since we've started. As of the start of the meeting, we had not received the green light from council.
These are the items that we discussed last meeting.
But we held over from last meeting.
We held over from last meeting, yeah.
Yeah, I have an email, I've spoken with you about this, Madam Chair. I have an email from this afternoon from the contractor indicating that they're willing to do what's required to resolve the one outstanding issue regarding insurances that's been flagged by council.
So we just need the binder.
We just don't have council saying, go, it's done.
Okay, so as soon as they have the binder to town council, then council gives us a green light. All right, so it's gonna go on the next agenda then.
I did receive, and I think I shared with you, you may have been copied on as well, an email from.
I haven't
the water
checked my
and sewer-
emails at all today.
From the water superintendent expressing some frustration that it's taken as long as it's taken, expressing concern
Oh, you
that.
told me that.
Yeah, concern that if we take another 2 weeks, it puts the project that much further behind. If, as I understand it, that one issue is all that's holding up the board from being able to execute the contracts, and if we've got the indication.
You want a contingency vote?
That's where I was going. That way we don't have to burn 2 weeks. If town council comes back tomorrow and says, green light, go, we can actually get them executed out of session if that's your wish.
That's fine. I mean, the issue has been the if I understand it correctly, the RFP said that the contractor would provide an insurance.
Certain insurances.
Certain insurances, okay? And there's been some back and forth about whether or not that in fact needed to happen. Town council says that's what was written, so therefore, yes, it needs to, okay? So she's pretty much held the line on that. Now that the contractor has said, we'll do the insurance, we're good. We just need proof of insurance, which is typically called the binder. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay. Are you okay with that, Don?
I'm okay with that, too.
Okay.
Did Paul make the change on that Meadow to West Meadow Road?
It actually is Meadow.
It is Meadow.
It is Meadow.
And I believe there was some kind of was there a typo or something in the document too?
In the RFP specifications, there was that time bond put together. The contractor pointed out to me and to council that there was a reference to the town of Belchertown. So it was clear.
So they used
the RFP had been redeployed. So she opined that it does not affect the process or the outcome of the procurement.
Okay. So, could I have a motion, a contingency motion?
I make a motion, a contingency motion to sign out a session document once town council has made the final approval.
So the documents related to the water main extension projects, one for Main Street and one for Meadow.
Right.
Once town council approves and sign out a session. Perfect.
Yes. Second? Any questions, Wayne?
No.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you for that suggestion. I wouldn't have even thought about that. Town Administrator updates and report.
Thank you. In your packets at 6-1, you should see a copy of the written report, starting with personnel updates. And providing in this report another copy of the referenced RFP for personnel administrative services, RFP being request for proposals. To date, we've received 2 expressions of interest, and we have a closing date of June 12th. So we did not only a posting and on the boards and on the personnel MPA website, but we reached out through the back of the beacon to the businesses that do this type of work and did a direct solicitation to them as well.
Excellent.
So I expect we're probably going to get one more, knowing the 3 players that are primarily the players that do this type of stuff. We've got 2 of them in, from the 3, and I expect we'll see the last one before the 12th.
Okay.
Town accountant contract execution. Enclosed, please find a copy of the contract as approved by the board. It's ready for your signatures. Under action requested, if it would please the board, vote to sign the contract. So that should also appear after the RFP.
Do you have the actual contract?
Any of them as good as the other? I do have a copy. I'll take that here.
If you wanted us to sign?
Yep. That will serve that purpose. So you had one question earlier. We addressed that though, right?
I believe we did, but I don't remember it. Isn't that awful? We did. It has been a nasty day. I had one and you answered that, and that was fine. Give me 1 second. Yeah, you answered it, I think, Jim. No, we took care of it. Thank you. So a vote to
Just execute.
execute the contract,
I make a motion that we
sign and execute
sign and execute the contract
for the town accountant.
for the town accountant, right?
Yep.
Okay. I'll get the hang of this yet.
I'll second that. Questions?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right.
So there's a few things here for your signature when you get back, Wayne.
Aye.
Thank you. Next is C, Town Administrator Contract Addendum Execution. Enclosed, please find a copy of the contract addendum as approved by the board. It's ready for your signatures. And this is the one sentence. Parties hereby agree effective July 1, 2019, the base salary of the town administrator shall be increased by 2%. So it's previously been voted and approved, it just needs to be publicly executed.
Okay, so move to
I make a motion that we sign and approve
execute.
or execute the contract addendum for the FY20 salary adjustment.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I can't write and speak at the same time.
Yeah, I know. Me too.
When we get to D, Highway Superintendent Jim Smith. When Superintendent Smith's position was converted from a memorandum of agreement to the supervisor's union position, he was supposed to be kept whole for all of his then current benefits. One that was apparently overlooked was the, quote, winter operations stipend, unquote, of $1,000 for working all winter weather events. Just for a clear paper trail, I wanted to bring this matter before you. Under board action requested, if it would please the board, a vote to in parentheses, authorize the $1,000 winter operations stipend payment for Superintendent Smith. He's unusual in my experience and unusual in my direct experience here in that he actually plows a route. He's not coming in
Yeah, somebody
and
said
just kind
that.
of, overseeing. He's actually coordinating, but while actually doing a route for every winter event. So this is an oversight that kind of breaks my heart that we had to even hold off and not be able to pay him.
So we can still pay him for this past winter, right?
If you take the vote, I just want to make sure that it's not done without your direct knowledge.
Okay.
Because even though you voted already to do it because he was meant to be kept whole, this is one that didn't happen.
Okay, so it just didn't get put in there. So are you going to correct that?
Yeah.
Okay. You'll just put another addendum in?
Yeah, we'll just probably footnote it in the section where his other things are carved out.
Okay. So we,
Just a motion, if it would,
To
to
reauthorize.
reauthorize the $1,000 winter operations stipend for Superintendent Smith.
I make a motion that the board reauthorize the $1,000 winter operations stipend payment for Superintendent Jim Smith.
I'll second that. Any questions? You okay with that, Wayne?
Yep.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Excellent. Then E, Conservation Administrative Assistant. As earlier reported, the position of Conservation Administrative Assistant became vacant when Lindsay Butler was promoted to the position of Land Use Coordinator. In advertising the position of Conservation Administrative Assistant, we received 1 internal candidate application and 5 external candidate applications. The town provides a preference to internal candidates. Our internal candidate is Ms. Lee Redden. Her resume is enclosed. And I whited out her personal information on the top, just her phone number and address. Who currently works 17 hours for us as the Highway Administrative Assistant. Ms. Redden is an exemplary employee who regularly goes above and beyond that which is expected of her in her current post. She already has familiarity with conservation process and in town, having worked with the town's stormwater plan. Ms. Redden is seeking full-time employment, and this 20-hour position, when combined with the current highway post, would meet her needs. Under board action requested, if it would please the board, a vote to appoint Ms. Lee Redden to the position of Conservation Administrative Assistant.
That's nice. Any questions?
Just one. Will they work out with Jim the days that she needs to be at the
Yeah,
highway?
they'll be coordinated, and there'll be some flexibility too based on what workload will be. In my experience in sharing people between departments, that type of flexibility goes a long way. So if the Conservation Commission has a particularly hectic agenda coming up and she needs to spend a little bit more time there, or if there's something going on with highway where she's needed for a little of extra time or more concentrated time, that they'd flex that back and forth, but that the 2017 be kept.
Okay, so would she be keeping track of her time in each position?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. She would have 2 separate timesheets.
Okay.
And she would be I almost said housed, and that sounds really horrible.
Well, no, I was going to ask the exact same thing. I was going to say, where would she be
She'd be
housed?
working her highway hours in the highway office, which is down in the highway department, off 119, and she'd be working her conservation hours here in the land use office.
Okay.
I make a motion that the board vote to appoint Miss Lee Redden to the position of Conservation Administrative Assistant.
I'll second that. Any questions? Wayne?
Nope.
All those in favor?
Aye.
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 All right, and then F, Grants Administrator. I'm enclosing a draft of the job notice for a grant administrator. I have several job descriptions I'm using to create the one that fits our needs. I'll be submitting that with classification done on it at your next meeting for your consideration and approval. It's a little strange because we have the RFP out on the street that's due back on June 12th, one of the deliverables under which would be job description review. But we don't want to wait and lose the first quarter of the year waiting on a job description from a consultant when it's not rocket science to build one based on existing templates that are out there.
Especially for, it's kind of common.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So there's no action requested, but I just wanted to put it on your radar screen. That's in that document, that's kind of what's being scoped out as the required education skills and abilities.
And so you'll be able to provide us with that for the next meeting?
Yes, my expectation is to have the final job description and
the grade?
Yep. All right, then we get into financial updates. FY19 update, fiscal year, for those listening. The Treasurer's Office has completed posting all receipts through March of 2019 and reconciled the cash book. The Accountant and Treasurer's Office have completed cash reconciliations between their offices through February, actually as of today, through March. And we anticipate having all the receipts posted and cash reconciled through April by the end of this current week.
Nice.
You remember that we had vacancy first in Treasurer and then for a brief period of time in Accounting. So things, when you're dealing with those turnovers in those positions, things can slide. They've been working very, very diligently to bring that stuff back up to speed, and they both deserve
Well,
to be
that's good
commended
news
for it.
when fall comes, because we'll have the earlier certified cash and
Absolutely.
earlier town meeting and all that, so
So
that's
under board
great.
action requested, there's none requested. And then B, Nashoba Valley Regional Dispatch District Audit Report. There's a copy of the audit from the Regional Dispatch District enclosed for your review. Actually, it didn't get
It's more like a
enclosed.
financial report.
It is. It's called an audit on the cover, but I think kind of to step back at the 10,000-foot view, there's a period of time where they didn't have an audit done. During that period of time, they had a change in management in the executive director's position, and without having had an audit done for that period of time and with having that transition, there was some concern to get an official financial statement done that accounted for all of the funds. And while it doesn't read as a traditional audit with a management letter might, it meets the statutory threshold for an audit, and that it does
A basic audit.
it presents all the financials to show that everything that should exist does exist. It doesn't go to the next level that you and I talked about of, even though it exists, was it spent in the right place? We don't know that. A management letter might detail that better, but just in terms of, balancing, everything is where it should have been.
That's good news.
It is. Number 3, we get to project updates, pavement management plan. Reminder that the ballot vote for the debt exclusion to fund the pavement management plan is scheduled, as we just saw moments ago, for June 18th from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. at 272 Main Street, Memorial Hall.
Can we get that up on the,
It's right on the front.
Is it on
Right
there?
on the front page,
Okay,
yep.
good.
And the question will read, shall the town of Townsend be allowed to exempt from the provisions of Prop 2.5, so-called the amounts required to pay for the bond and/or note issued in order to fund the implementation of a town-wide pavement management plan, including the payment of all costs incidental and related thereto, with a yes or a no?
that's a pretty simple vote.
It is. And board action requested, there is none requested for that item. Moving to 4, miscellaneous updates, town properties landscaping contract. The town went out to bid on the landscaping services for town properties again this year. Pause for an editorial comment. This is not the fertilizer. Fertilizer is a separate contract, so the issue of organic and
This is
non-organic
like
is
cutting the
separate.
lawn
Yeah,
and
this is
trimming the shrubs and-
the mulch and cuttings. The procurement requirement for service expected to exceed 10,000 but to be less than 50,000 is to create a scope, to solicit at least 3 written quotes, and to award to the lowest priced responsive bidder. In this case, that bidder is Shepco for the annual fee of $29,800, all inclusive. Board action requested. If it pleases the board, a vote to approve and execute a contract with Shepco for $29,800 to perform the services required for the town property's landscaping services, and to authorize the chair to sign out of session.
I make a motion that the board vote to approve and execute the contract with Shepco for the $29,800 to perform the services required for the town property's landscaping services, and to authorize the chair to sign out of session.
I'll second that. Any other discussion? Wayne?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And B, tree removal at Craven Field. I was asked to get an update on this, and I'm advised that, Taibes, I don't know how to pronounce the acronym.
TAYBS.
I've never heard anybody actually utter it.
Yeah, Townsend Ashby
Youth baseball.
Youth Baseball. Yeah, baseball and softball.
There we go. Arranged for a forester who was qualified to do the required forestry cutting plan and the actual removals. Unfortunately, he passed away. They are currently in search of another similarly qualified person.
Someone I hope that's insured at least. And they went around and talked to neighbors and agreed on trees and all of the stuff that they were talking about doing.
My understanding is, yes, that they had done everything that was required, including the requirement put in place by the building commissioner for a forestry cutting plan, an actual forestry cutting plan, somebody that's certified by the state to produce such a plan.
Okay, good.
And board action unrequested. And that is my report for you this evening.
Thank you. Does the clerk have any announcements?
Well, it says here, an email from...
No, that's correspondence.
Okay.
You have no announcements?
Uh,
No new parades or anything? We did that last week. Thank you for being there.
Yes, they were very appreciative. But I do have one, and I didn't notice it here, but I got a email today from Chief Boynton. And give me just 1 second, please.
Oh, yes.
That's a good one.
In celebration of the National Emergency Medical Service Week, Steward Healthcare hosted their annual EMS Stewards of the Community Award ceremony on May 20th at the Terrell Room in Quincy, Massachusetts. The Dallas-based Steward, which operates 9 hospitals across Massachusetts, recognized 19 EMS providers. Among these individuals was Marty Scott, captain of the EMS operations for Townsend Fire. He was recognized for going above and beyond in his interaction with the patients at Nashoba Valley Medical Center. Scott has served as a captain on the EMS operations for the Townsend Fire since 2016. He is also a call firefighter with the town of Winchton. Due to his efforts, the Townsend Fire EMS has obtained 3 sets of ALS equipment, as well as a Lucas CPR machines for all 3 ALS ambulance. Scott is an ALS instructor and recently began teaching classes for paramedic program at Mount Wachusett Community College. His leadership role in the local EMS community, as well as spearheading several projects to enhance quality and patient care across the region, contributed to his nomination by his peers. Marty Scott is an excellent choice to receive this award and is a valuable leader and advocate for EMS community in the region.
Congratulations. Good job. Thank you for
And
remembering
the irony
that.
there is that all those things it says he does, he wasn't able to be there to
I
get the
know,
award
I
because he was
know.
busy doing the stuff he was getting the award for.
Anything else in that one?
No, I have nothing else.
Board correspondence, we received an email from Unitil regarding the tree plantings. The only question that I had, do you have it there?
I don't. Actually, I can pull it up on my phone if you allow.
Yes, I will allow.
And I do have a follow-up out, but have not received response to your question.
Okay. I mean, basically, they said they were delivering trees to the tree warden for the town replacement trees, was that?
Mm-hmm.
And that any agreements they had made with individual folks, that was all being done too. The question that I have is, if they're delivering trees to the tree warden, how's he getting them planted?
Right. And I did push that straight through after you sent it to me, and I've not gotten a response yet.
It's just my ignorance of it. I just don't know how that happens, so I would imagine he has to hire somebody to do it, although they can't be huge trees.
Right, and the expense, to your point, the expense shouldn't be the town's. It shouldn't be the tree
Exactly.
wardens. Right. Yes, so just to go specifically, this is Unitil speaking, our local certified arborist delivered 70 replacement trees to the town's tree warden. The town's tree warden can now determine where they wish to plant them and when they want to plant them. It's at his discretion. So some of that language clearly implies when he can plant them at his discretion. So we need to get that clarified. And then additionally, to your second point, we also delivered approximately 50 trees to those customers that wanted replacement trees at their homes or businesses. We discussed with them and the tree warden, another certified arborist, the right tree, right place, quote unquote, approach to ensure the new trees, when planted, don't ultimately grow into future hazards in the years ahead.
Okay, so if somebody delivered 70 trees to the tree warden and he has no way of putting them in the ground, I don't want the trees to be dying.
Sure, understood. I will reach out again to John Napoli after the meeting. I'll send them
Yeah.
another note.
Maybe going forward, when things like this happen, we can have the whole thing set up so that when the trees get delivered, all the Boy Scouts or whoever is gonna help with this
And it
effort.
may be that it is.
Yeah,
already, but it'd be good to
yeah.
know.
But we just don't know about it, so it sounds kind of not organized, but. 6.5, review and approve meeting minutes. We have none this week. 6.6, review and sign payroll and bills payable warrants. I have a motion.
Yes, I make a motion that we review and sign the payroll and bills payable warrant out of session.
Second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 7.1, executive session. Executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position or litigating position, and the chair so declares she does. This is regarding the police union. And then we have another executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy sessions in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel regarding fire chief. Could I get a motion, please? And we will not be returning into open session.
Open session. I make a motion that we adjourn to executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, to discuss the strategy with respect to collective bargaining or litigation if an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position or litigating position, and the chair so declares, reference police union. Also, executive session pursuant to General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A2, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiation with non-union personnel and to conduct collective bargaining session or contract negotiations with non-union personnel, reference the fire chief, and to adjourn, not return to...
Adjourn from executive session.
Adjourn from executive session.
Good job. I'll second that. We need a roll call vote.
Don Klein, aye.
Sue Licio, aye. Did we hear back from Brad again?
He was outside a little bit ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Is he? All right. What?
One thing before we adjourn. I would like to request a town email account. I'm finding that the email account I gave was my personal, and it's a shared account with my wife.
Jeez.
And the way my account is set up, it looks for spam, and several of the emails that have been sent to me end up in my spam folder.
Yes.
So I would appreciate if I could get one.
Absolutely.
I'm thinking the same thing, but I'll deal with it for now. Okay.
Can we take just a couple minutes?